Okay, Morai v'Rabotai, Achai v'Rai, welcome back to another Tuesday night Shiur. Shidduch, right? Dating series number 2. Let's start. Today, on our agenda and our topic, I just want to give a disclaimer before. All the research I did and self-life experience, before I go to any of my shiurim, I have a personal discussion with one of my rabbanim that I hold very close. I want you to understand, I'm not saying the things that I'm saying out of my own hamtzaot, out of my own imagination. It's not. This is research that's been done and avodah pnimi that's been worked on. You have to understand, when you go into this realm, you have to understand it's fully avodah pnimi. You're working on yourself from the beginning until the end. That's what really dating in marriage is. It's pure avodat pnimi. How can I better myself? Through bettering yourself, you come to a realization that you can be compatible with somebody else. But if you can't come to that realization, you'll never be able to be compatible with anybody else. So number one, we have 2 topics that I want to discuss. Really, I wanted to discuss 4 topics, but my wife said do these 2, and then the other 2 you'll do next week. So I said, okay. I got her approval. We went through certain topics, because to just speak, when you speak in a crowd of men and women, you have to, in a way, you have to have an understanding how the other side also feels. You know, as a man, you feel like this is the way, this is what it is, and that's the end of the story. And a woman is the same thing. This is my way. That's it. End. But when you come to Shidduchim, you realize it's not the way it is. It's not. You can ask any married person, he'll tell you it's not the way it is. So number 1, today we will be discussing is hadracha, guidance. A person, before he gets into starting to date, he needs to understand that in every step that he takes, he needs hadracha, he needs guidance. Now we'll explain what really means guidance, who's the right person to go to. Not necessarily is everyone the right person to go to. You know what? I'm going to tell you a story that happened. I think it was right before Shabbat. I had a Talmud. He called me. I sent him the shiur, and he said, "Rebbe, I wanna tell you something." I didn't speak to him for a while. I said, "What's up? Talk to me." He said, "I was in a relationship with a girl for a while, and I decided to break it off." I said, okay. Now please don't blame me. What's going on over here? Please. He said, I wanna explain something to you. He said, you opened my eyes very much. He said, initially when I was going through the shidduchim process, in my mind it was just one thing. We'll work it out everything later after we get married. Let's just get married. What will happen after? We'll worry about it after. I don't need to worry about this right now. We'll worry about it later. And I decided to take some of the questions that you asked me, that we spoke about last week, and I said, I'm going to actually put it before, I'll make it a ma'aser thing, an actual thing. After I came to my realizations of my questions, for example, he told me something very, very, very shocking. He said, one of the questions we ask is, where are we going to live? Right? That was one of the questions. And she said, I'm not leaving a certain community. This is where I am, this is where I'm comfortable, I'm not leaving. And he was from the other side of the world. He said, Ya Habibi, I have a job, I have finances, I can support you, you never have to work. You have to come to me. Now these are things that if you don't discuss in the beginning what happens, you get caught up in such an emotional roller coaster, which we will talk about also, one of the topics of today, that confuse you so much that you end up having so much repercussions because of this, because you just wasted so much time, and now you got to go through depression because you felt like you wasted her time, your time, and then what happens? It doesn't work out for something that can be resolved right away on the spot. So when you come to this conclusion, maybe really the truth is whatever I'm going to tell you today really had to be the first shiur, but the reason why I did it second was not to scare everyone. Because Ya Habibi, marriage is not a game. It's not a game. Habibi, you're building a family, you're building a life, you're spending the rest of your life with that other person, whoever that other person may be. If you don't do the right decision for you, it has nothing to do with religion right now. It happens to be a religious person is talking about it, but it has mamish nothing to do with religion. If someone that you feel is not compatible, what are you doing there? And that's why you need hadracha. Hadracha. Rav Nachman ben Breslov says that when a person is undoubt, when he has no doubt in his Rebbe, no doubt, he'll see success. What does that mean? We should be tukim? We should be robots? Is that what he means? Yes and no. You know, when I come to you and I'll tell you, listen, do you like these AirPods? Now it has my initials engraved, Bonagid. It doesn't, but Bonagid, and it's something that I worked hard for. If I'm going to judge these AirPods, I'm going to judge it to my own liking. But when I tell someone outside, can you tell me the scenario, do you like these AirPods? Automatically that person is not doing it for the benefit of anybody. He's telling you his genuine opinion as is. When you go to your Rav, your rabbi, or it doesn't need to be a rabbi, it could be someone that you're open to, that you can speak to, that is not, he's a person that's bipartisan, he's not taking anyone's side. He's an open person. He's a realistic person. It also goes for you girls. Rabbi say, your friends are not your hadracha. But he's my best friend. Rabbi, you don't understand. We grew up in diapers together. I don't care. Your best friend cannot be madrich you. Even if he's married. He can't be madrich you. You need to go to someone that is beyond friendship. Someone with an idea that only wants to do for your benefit. I know so many stories of people getting advice from friends and it was the worst choice of their life. Also you, girls, don't get fooled. Don't say, oh, you don't need to express all your emotions, how the date was going and so on and so forth, how you feel to anybody. This is your own personal concern. This is your own personal feelings. You keep it to yourself and you discuss it with someone that's a much higher caliber. Why? Because they won't take sides. They'll know how to give you the advice that you need, not what they want out of you. That's the difference. So hadracha is very important. It's extremely important. You know what? I think it's the most important thing. Because sometimes a person can cloud himself. I'll give you an example. A guy says, listen, or a girl, doesn't make a difference. I want to live a Torah life. Okay, bonagid. But his Rebbe is telling him and saying, that's not the life you really want. I know you as a Talmud, you won't handle this life. But that's what I really want. And sometimes you need your Rebbe to push you, to open your eyes to see what's really good for you. And you cloud yourself with your own illusions and with your own skaski and your own paradox that you're building, your own Pandora box, and you realize when you're going to get to that point that you have to cross the river, you say, I can't do it. What did you just do? You just wasted your time. First thing you have to stop building illusions in your head. You have to stop it. We're living a life of illusions. We're picking our spouses through our own physical desires, which are clouding our mental understanding of ourselves. So that's why hadracha is very, very important. And I'll tell you a small little story. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'll say it anyways. When I was in the proper age of getting married, this is a scary story. Only very few handful people actually heard this story, but I'm going to say it today in the shiur. How important hadracha is. I went with one of my Rebbeim to a very big Admor. You know what an Admor is? It's a Hasidic Rebbe. Now I'm not talking about one that just woke up yesterday and said he's a Rebbe. I'm talking about someone that has mamish a dynasty. This guy, he's a king. You walk to his sphere wherever he lives, he's a king. And my Rebbe went to take me to give me a farher, to give me a test. On what? On the whole the whole halachot of shchita. He wanted to give me for hair. He wanted to show me off when I eat, and to take me to this Rebbe. Okay, so I did. We went to this Rebbe. Now listen to the siyata, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he just moves things. After I give my test, Baal Peh, I'm rattling off Shulchan Aruch from my mouth, Shach and Taz, I'm rattling off. My Rebbe brought his father, which is a very big posek. And he looks at me, and he looks at the Admor, and he says, this kid has an unbelievable brain. But there's a problem. What's the problem? He's talking to a girl, and it's clouding his mind. This is what he says. He said, I want you to do a Tkiyas Kaf. You know what Tkiyas Kaf in the time of the Gemara? You are not allowed to swear. But there's something called a handshake, which is it's considered like a swear. If you ever see any Sephardi chupot, whoever didn't do it, whatever the case is, that some rabbis make the chatan swear under the chuppah that he's never going to get another wife. We're not going to talk about this. This is a different topic. So they do. If you ever see in the chuppah, the rabbi shakes the chatan's hand. And this Rebbe, his father wanted me to do this to this Admor. And the Admor looks at me. I kid you not. He looks at me, he looks at my Rebbe's father, he said, I'm not doing it. Now that was the biggest shock of my life. I just got electrocuted from the bottom to the top. He's like, I'm not doing it. Why? Because sometimes people see things that are beyond emotions. Sometimes you have to go to a higher authority to open your eyes. You need it. It must be done. If it's not going to be done, who's going to do it for you? And I'm not telling you this story because of this or because of that. That's not the point. The point of it that even sometimes Talmidei Chamim need to go to bigger Talmidei Chamim to get hadracha. And that's why it's extremely important before you start to go on shidduchim, before you did those preparations that we discussed last week, you have to go to someone and say, Ya Habibi, I want to be your student. Whoever you're close to, it could be the rabbi of your shul, it could be one of your rebbeim in the past, it can be whoever is. I need someone that I can connect to. This is one reason why I don't do shidduchim. You know why I don't set up people? How am I going to set up a person I don't really know? How? To my own personal talmidim that grew up with me, that I know them, that spent time with me, that I ate with them, that I sat with them, that they spoke to me for years, for months even. I'm willing to help them to do a shidduch. But a person that randomly comes and says, Rabbi, what's up? I have an issue. Can you please set me up? What is this for you, Bamba? You're going to the shuk, you buy your beastly or Bamba. It doesn't go this way. You need to do it with hadracha. You need to know the person. You need to guide the person properly. And that's why you need a Rebbe. And it's not enough to stress it. You know what? The girls need more than the boys. You need to have someone that you can go to and you can speak to. And you're not going to realize you're going to need it more when you get married. But now, since you do it before you're married, it's much, much more easier to have that open conversation with whoever it is. Now, the second thing that I wanted to talk about today, really, shkoyach, thank you. I'm going to say on the bracha in the first cup. The second thing I wanted to talk about, which is the most scariest, and I'm going to give you an introduction with the story. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nihiya b'dvaro. My wife one time went on a Shabbaton, and she was sitting with a whole bunch of ladies. They were all talking, eating, whatever the case was. It was an all women's Shabbaton. And then on the table, a woman got up, and she was divorced. But she got remarried, Baruch Hashem, she has a family now. And she was telling her story. And there's one part of this story which I feel is extremely crucial for everyone to hear. She said a lot of you can relate to this. This is why I'm saying this is very important. As she was growing up, there was a very famous statement she always used to hear in her house. What was that statement? Whenever you get married, you can do whatever you want. You're in my house now, it's my rules. You get married, you can jump off the cliff. That's not my problem. That's already on you. You want to go out with friends? When you get married, you can go out. And the girl was saying she was growing up thinking that what's marriage? An escape. I can run away. I can just enjoy life, Who's not going to look up to getting married? No? You growing up feeling from a young age, you get married, you do whatever you want. You get married. So the person is growing up. It doesn't make a difference if you're a guy, if you're a girl. What's going through your head? Oh, I get married, have some freedom. I can breathe. I can move. I can talk. And you build an illusion around your head. How and when is the earliest time I can escape this jail that I'm in? Is it a jail or not? I'm not saying it is or it's not. I'm just telling you what goes on psychologically in our head when we always hear these things. We come to a realization that what? Because we're naive and we're young, that when we get married, we can run away. And it's not like that. Are you getting married because you're sick and tired of always doing your parents' chores? If it's the dishes or throwing out the garbage or cooking for the whole family? Is that why I'm getting married? Am I getting married because you don't want to hear your father say, oh no, shoot, how long are you going to be in my house for? Find a job, find a wife. How old are you already? I was married. They give you the whole Megillah of Yuchsin from here till Moshe Rabbeinu, how every grandfather and grandmother got married when they were 15, and they were all happy and they all worked out. They got married with whoever they saw first. Is that the reason? Are we getting married to run away? And you know what? The scary thing is 70% of people are getting married to run away from their reality. Not realizing when you get married, that reality that you're running away is not going to be an option. It's going to be an obligation. There is no, I'm running away from doing the dishes when I get. You're not going to do it. Who's going to do it? Your mother's going to come to your house and wash your dishes? Your mother-in-law is going to come. Busha v'charpa. It's going to be such an embarrassment for you. Who's going to tell you to go to work? You know who? The rent. The electric bill. The food, the car, the insurance. No more Abba Ima, no more. Bye-bye. You're on your own. So you have to understand, you have to come to a realization. Am I ready for this mentally? Am I ready for this physically? Or am I doing this because I'm just trying to run away? And if you're doing it, you can be 80 years old and not married, and you can still have this mindset that I'm trying to do this to run away. And that's the wrong thing. You're not getting married to run away because you're running away, to what? More responsibility. Before you were only taking care of yourself. Now you're going to be taking care of somebody else. And if you're not mentally, forget about physically. I'm not talking about finances right now. That's not even a problem, l'shitati. The problem is if you're not mentally stable, if you're not mentally there, you're just going to cause yourself more destruction. You have to come to, and there's only one person that can tell you if you're ready or not. And that's your madrich or your madricha. The only people. The only people that can tell you, it can also be your parents if they're bar dat. I'm scared to say parents, and I'm not scared to say parents, because it depends on the parents' view, which we will discuss, hopefully next year, how you find the shidduch and so on and so forth. If you, for example, I asked my Rebbe a question, and I'm saying, and remember, I want you to understand something, there's always yotzei min haklal. This that I'm saying is just in general, especially in getting married in shidduchim, there is so many details that everyone has to go ask personally and privately. Because every case and every personality and every person varies. I know a person, unfortunately, they're getting divorced. Now, I want you to understand something. In no way am I saying, again, that this is the right thing or the wrong thing. I'm just telling you what happened. You know, when a person goes through personal trauma, if it's unfortunately going through yourself as a child, seeing your parents getting divorced, or if it's growing up with an abusive parent, or if God forbid something happened to you when you were in school, or if you were bullied a lot. I'm talking about basic things that happens to everyone. You can get bullied in school all the time. It happens to almost everybody. You know what kind of impact that leaves in you? You have no idea. It's an impact, you know. I said it once in my show, I'm going to say it again. There was a kid that unfortunately, I didn't even know that I hurt his feelings. And after 7, 8 years, when I confronted him, he told me that I hurt his feelings one time. You know, it killed me inside. It killed me. Like, I was the cause of this person getting emotionally hurt. And until today, when I see him ask for forgiveness, it kills me inside how I was such a cruel person. But you're not understanding, when you go into a relationship with these certain issues, that even though you're going to think, I'm Superman, I don't have these issues. Me? I'm invincible, Rabbi. No one's going to say anything and hurt me. Nobody. I know a guy, you know how he does his shtadlut of going out? He makes one initial phone call or text. He said, the rest, the girl's going to have to run after me. You know what I told this guy? I don't know who's marrying you. It's definitely not a straight girl. Because it's not going to happen. This doesn't go this way. It doesn't go this way. And the cause of this person acting this way, and he doesn't even know it, is because of his past trauma, that experiences that he went through. So he's building defense forces that is telling him, this is the only way I will be able to be compatible with another human being. If I see they're for sure 100% willing to submit to me. You hear what I just told you? Where did that come from, bud? It comes from when he was younger, he went through a certain experience that caused him today to act a certain way. So how do you break out of such a thing? How do you break out of it? You know, in this community, we're very, very anti-therapists. I'm not saying you should go to one. I'm explaining to you the idea. We're very anti-expressing our emotions. We're very anti-opening up. We're not anti-opening up to our friends. And that is the worst thing in the world. That we're not anti. But we're anti-speaking to someone that's more chashuv, someone that can help you and so on and so forth. I have a friend, he works now in New Jersey. He said his goal in his life, one of his main dreams, is to make therapy accessible to everybody. Without even knowing they're in therapy. You should never ever feel ashamed if you went to ask for help for somebody. I also go to therapy, but you know what I go to? I go to my Rebbe. I have an issue. If I have a physical or mental issue, I sit down with my Rebbe and he gives me all the time that I need, and then we discuss it, and after one discussion or two, depends, it's done. Problem's fixed. You want to know why? Because I'm willing to open up to him and he's willing to accept everything. He's not going to judge me now. The things I told my Rebbe is beyond even knowledge. He was saying, you need help? I'm going to help you 100%. If you can't find a Rebbe like that, then you're in trouble.
That's a Madriga? That's your Madriga? He's your Madriga?
He's my Rebbe.
What is the Madriga?
Madriga means level.
I don't know what you said before.
I don't understand what you're saying. Madricha.
Yeah, that. What is that?
Madricha is like a rabbi for a woman, like a rabbanit or a mora, or someone she can open up to and talk to.
It's a woman.
Yes, it's for a woman. I do not suggest in any way, shape, or form, unless maybe Yotzei min haklal, that a guy should speak to a rabbanit about their problems, and for a girl to speak to a rabbi about their problems.
Really?
Correct. I really, because I tell you why. You don't understand, but you'll eventually understand that women are built, they're built with emotions. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu created them this way. And if not, we would have been in big trouble. Because the baby would be crying, both man and the woman would not pay attention. They would let the baby cry to death. So Kadosh Baruch Hu knew that one person in this relationship has to be more of an emotional person, and he created, in that sense, the woman. And that's why both a man and a woman need to be getting married and living together. Not like this 21st century, which we have many different genders and so on and so forth. Now, back to our topic. In no way do I think that a woman should speak to a Rebbe. I feel that's very, very not good. I feel she needs a madrecha.
Isn't that common though?
It is very common because unfortunately the accessibility of a madrecha is very, very rare and unique. They're not always available. But a Rebbe is more accessible. But I feel, me personally, there are certain topics that a woman can talk to a woman only about. And only a woman can understand a woman, regardless of what you're going to tell me. And there's certain topics that a man can only understand a man. And this has nothing to do with physical things. This is emotional things. I'm talking about emotions right now, not physical. I'm not even in that topic. I'm not even going to talk about that topic. It has nothing to do with this. But when you have someone that you can clearly open up to and express yourself in a way that he's going to guide you, your whole life is much better. Because now you know you're entrusting in somebody to hold your hands and say, Ya Habibi, do this and do that. And he's building you up the kelim. He's not weakening you. He's not making you handicapped. Or she's not making you handicapped. They're just entrusting you and giving you the kelim, the tools, how you will be able to adjust in your future. But if you're a man of ego and your gavas from here higher than the highest building in the world, no one's going to help you. Because in your eyes, the rabbi is always wrong and you're always right. So you have to come to a realization, what am I doing? Am I mentally ready to go on a shidduch? Am I running away from something? Is there something that's not clicking in my personal life? Am I running away from the reality of my life? And people do this all the time and they get married and they realize what? That marriage is much more harder than what it actually is. And they end up with what? Unfortunately, I don't like to use that word, but they end up with a get. With a divorce. Why? Because marriage is not full of flowers and full of, clouds and rainbows and stuff like that. It's full of dirt and two seeds. And the way you put the seeds in the ground, that's the way the plant is going to grow. And if you're not going to water it and give it sunlight and give it its attention that it needs, it will never grow. And the marriage will fail. But in order to do that, your sunlight and your rain is your madrich. Is your Rebbe that's going to guide you. That's what you need. Now, one second. The big question of today, really, that I was speaking to my Rebbe for a very long time, was how involved should parents be in your decision of getting married? Of course, it varies when you're younger and when you're older and so on and so forth. How involved should a parent be? Should a parent find your shidduch for you? Should you find it yourself? Now this is a very sensitive topic, but I'm going to say that the way it is, and of course, again, there's Yotzei Min HaKlal, there's always situations that can always be varied. A person has to be a bar dat, has to be smart. If you see that the person that's setting you up is just setting you up just for you to get married, just for you to get, you know what? I tell you the truth, I hate Shadchanim. I hate their system. I hate it. And I'll tell you why. I don't hate them personally. They're doing their job. I tell you why I dislike it. You have a person sitting in an office in front of a screen all day, was probably never met the guy, never met the girl, or met them once, and has a hamtza'ah, figures out how to play a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And takes two people and says, I think you're a good match. And then there's a shadchan that actually took his time or took her time and sat with the person and spoke to them, not one day, not 2 days, but for hours. He's trying to get to know the person. Who is this person really? Who is going to be the right person I can make the shidduch for? Now, why am I saying this? There's two kinds of parents. There's a parent that really looks out for the kid, that wants good for the kid, and there's a parent that does it for their own benefit. Is the girl from a good family? They don't ask anything about the girl. Lamaisa, the girl's not even in the equation. She parent, it happens to be that they're the same, came at the same age. Is she from a good family? Is her mother normal? Well, Rabbi said these are all very important questions, but this is not the golden question when you want a shidduch. Does she have finances? Is she pretty? And they go into these whole lists, but not even one time do they say, who's the girl? Is she good? How is her midot? How is she in school? How does she react to people on a one-on-one basis? They don't do this. Why? Because they just want to know one thing, that it's a good family, they're going to end up normally, and I don't have to worry about it. And vice versa. Vice versa. It can be a girl side of the family that's trying to find a guy, a normal guy for the daughter, and say, does he make enough money? Is he a good-looking guy? What kind of car does he drive? And they go into all these inyanim, which are very chashuv. Don't get me wrong, they're extremely important. They're very, very chashuv, but there's an issue with it. What's the issue? No one is actually focusing on who? The people that are getting married. And that's the biggest issue. You can't do a shidduch. You can't go on a date just because everything around you looks very bubbly. You're not getting married for the shechina. You're getting married for the shechina, Rabbi Yisrael. You're not getting married for your neighbor. You don't need to have your friends and everyone saying, wow, how did you get into such a house? Wow. You don't need that. That's not important. They're not living with you behind closed doors. They don't know how structured that house is. They don't know if plates are flying every night. They don't know if people are cursing 24/7. They don't know any of that. They just know she comes out of the house very beautifully, comes very jolly, and everything is okay. No, not necessarily. And then there are parents that I would say that are more normal, that would sit down with their kids and say, hey, Habibi, what are you looking for? And they would go out and figure it out yourselves. It's extremely important. It's extremely important to get your parents' approval. Both in halachic and both lamaisa, they're not dumb. You know, people that just get married without, or just start going out. Start going out. It's good to see you, Eliyahu. Start going out. Right? Just, what was I saying? I'm sorry. I saw Eliyahu, his beauty got me a little confused. If a person gets married and he thinks he's going to be the Chacham Balayla or the Chachama, my parents are old-fashioned. They don't know anything, right? They just went through communism, but that's not. They just went through one country and another country. They went through struggle. So you have to understand their perspective too. When I got married, my father didn't let me get married. He said, "You have no finances. How are you getting married, ya Habibi?" He said, "You're not knocking on my door. I'm not supporting you. You're gonna figure this out. You want to get married? You better get a job." Those were his words to me. He said, "You have to find a way to make a living." Was he wrong? Absolutely not. Was he right? Also absolutely not. How does that make sense? It depends what kind of life you want to live. He wasn't wrong in any of the ways. It happens to be that I went to yeshiva right after I got married. I didn't need a job. It just happened to be. Did I plan that to happen? I did not plan that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu planned it for me. Now, am I going to tell you that's what's going to happen to everyone here? Absolutely not. But you have to understand that whoever you're trying to go out with, it has to be a compatibility. You have to come to a realization, I'm not just marrying the person because of some beauty that's one day not going to be there. It's not. and you cloud yourself with all the mishigas and all the shtiyot that you want to cloud yourself with, for what? To have a check that you have the most beautiful girl in town? For who? Rabbi said, you're living with that person for the rest of your life. Getting married is not a kiruv case. I say it in every shiur that I can give. Getting married is not, there's no operation over here. You're not here to make him a Baal Tshuva. Or you're not making him to make him the exact opposite. Whatever way you want to make it sound, if you want to live a very high-end, rich, so on and so forth life, which it's, if that's the way you want to live, good for you. You can't expect the guy that doesn't work to give you that life. He's not going to give it to you. Where do you live? You live in the real world, or you live in imagination land? He's not going to give it to you. He cannot afford it. Where are you looking at? Some people looking for that. Rabbi, I don't care who she is. She comes from a rich family. I want to marry her. Habib, are you stupid in the head? What's wrong with you? That's what I want. That's what you want. That's what you're going to get. I wish that the guy gets it. Why? Because that's what he wants. That's what he should get. Now, when a person goes and starts to set up people like, I don't know, some college fling, I have a friend and you have a friend there, let's set them up. What's this joke for you? Set up what? What are you setting them up for? You have to take achrayut for such a case. It's your responsibility now. Every averah that they do, every mitzvah that they do, everything before the marriage and after the marriage and so on, it's on your head. Why? Because you try to be a nice friend and you want to set them up and you feel bad for her, or you feel bad for him. And we're looking out for each other, we're so close. Ya Habibi, don't do that.
Majority of the time it works though.
I don't know which world you live in.
How would you know if she's right or not? How would you?
We're not there yet. We're not. You see, do you listen to my first year? No, it's online. You can listen to it. That's you're gonna get a person. I'm gonna rephrase it a little bit. You know Hebrew?
Okay.
Until you don't know yourself and what you want, you'll never know anything else. You start going out, I'm going to ask you a simple question. Do you know really what you want? Say the truth. Besides yofi, besides beauty right now, take that, put it aside. Besides that, do you really...
Say yes or no?
Yes, and that's not good enough. Do you understand? If you had a daughter right now, right? And the guy said to you, comes to your house, says, and you ask, do you want my daughter? Yes and no. What are you going to do to the guy?
No, but at the end of the day, it's always going to be like that.
Not
really like that. Not really like that.
I don't need audience.
It's not really going to be like that. You know already what you want, and you see it with her, and you go with it. You get your parents' confirmation saying that it's okay from both sides, and you go with it.
You said it so easy. I'm shocked that you're still single. It's mamash. But it's not like that, Lamaisa. You want to know why it's not like that? Mm-hmm. Because you can never find two people that want the exact same thing. It's impossible. It only works in an imagination world. Sure. So when a person goes on a shidduch and he goes and he knows who he is, meaning I know what I want. I know where I'm standing in my life. I know what kind of person I'm looking for. I know that I'm not in a different realm. I know that if I'm gonna get married or I'm in school, how am I gonna sustain myself? I have to know these details. I cannot live and say I have emunah. No, you don't. You don't, lemaisa, because we don't even know what emunah really means. You come to that realization. What do we use? We use God when we need Him as an excuse. We know how to throw the God card. Pach! Hashem yazor. Lo yazor lecha. Tilach la'avod. Go to work, then He's going to help you. Limits you. That's the way it works. So when you come and say, oh, this, shidduch, that. No, ya habibi, it's not like that. You want to get married to, unfortunately, I'm saying, it can be either way, but in your case right now, to a girl that has certain emotional issues that she didn't work out before she got married, and she's coming to you, and you're supposed to have the best time of your life, and she dumps the whole package on your head. Now go kill yourself. Instead of being that loving husband that you want to be, you're starting to become a therapist, and you're starting to, what's going on over here? Ya habibi, I just got married. What? You don't want to know why these issues happen? Because you didn't do your due diligence before. You got clouded, which is mitziyut. It happens to most people. You got clouded with the chitzuniyut, with the outside image. You started to say, bedil v'yavor, this is okay. this is okay. But after, when you have the prize in your hand, you start to realize, it's not so okay. Where's the rabbi? Again, it's the rabbi's fault. Pach on his head. Rabbi, it's your fault. What do you mean it's your fault? I told you. But didn't I recorded it too. I told you, don't do this. I couldn't.
That's different already.
Why is it different? It's not different.
Before you get married, of course you have a rabbi telling you yes or no. You should, if they see it working out. If they say yes, then you go for it. If they say no, then you don't go for it. But if you get married when they say no, that's already on you.
Correct. But what am I trying to say? Excuse me. A person shouldn't need a rabbi or a madrich to convince him to do something right or something wrong. When a person goes on a shidduch and he's clouded, excuse me. When a person starts to go out and he's clouded, that's what ruins him. So I'm telling you, if you do all these preparations beforehand, if you do the you're killing me, guys. If you do your due diligence before, you're not going to need to go through all this hell. You should never know. The worst thing that can ever happen to a human being is after you get married, a month or 2 months later, you have a new couple that should be on cloud 9. And instead, they're willing to get divorced. The worst feeling. It happens to me all the time. How a couple, 4 days after they get married, they're in the middle of the Sheva Brachot, the guy saying, I'm going to Beit Din to give her a get. What happened? You just got married. You just got married. What's wrong with you? I can't. You can save yourself all this balagan, and of course through other teachings as well, not to go through this issue. The problem is we're not willing to do the footwork. It's too much work. Rabbi, I don't know myself. Of course you don't know yourself. But you have to come to a realization how you want to live your life. That's what you have to come to realization. You can't just go out with anyone. You can't, and you know you won't do that. Also, you girls, you shouldn't sell yourself cheap. A lot of girls do that. They'll be fine to, okay, I'll let this go, I'll let that go. And then you realize he comes home, he's going to get married to you. Before you know, you're going to say, what did I marry? What am I? I'm a maid, I'm a slave. I didn't sign up for this. And all this is why? Because you got caught up with your lev and not with your seichel. You were too involved with your heart doing your decisions and not your brain. So to make sure that your heart doesn't do the decision, you need a madrich. Now don't get me wrong, heart is very important. You need to find a certain attractiveness. It's extremely important. And anyone that says otherwise, run away from him or run away from her. If you don't find a sense of attraction and it should be a good feeling, it's not for you. You can be Moshe Rabbeinu and you can be Miriam and Neviah. If you don't feel it, you don't feel it. There's nothing you can do about it. You need to feel it. That's number one. Everyone agrees on that. No one's talking about that right now. We're talking about the other things that come out after. That cloud your judgment. Why? Because you're so infatuated in your own illusion. And the only one that can guide you is a third party. And your third party has to be either your Rebbe or your Madricha. That's what I'm trying to tell you today. And a lot of people do this mistake to the extent that they get married. I know this is not a marriage class, but they get married and they stay married and they're miserable. And they could have fixed this problem if they would have a madrich or madricha during their marriage, that they had someone to talk to guide them to the right way. But the ego of a human being doesn't allow to ask for help. You know how you know someone is strong? When he knows how to say help. I'm stuck. Can you guide me? That's how you know if a person's emotionally strong. You know, I'm not scared to say it. If I need help, I'll call my Rebbe in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning. I have no problem calling. And no problem whatsoever. Why? Because if I need help, I need help. Because I know if I'm going to ask for help, it's going to make me a better human being. Not just for my family and for my wife and so on and so forth, but for me too. You want to be that guy in the street that you look at this behemah. Look at this. Chatichat chara. Oh, who's this guy? No. You don't want to be that guy. You want to be the guy that people look at and say, wow, mujik, he's a man. This is a guy that people look up to. Why? Because you worked on your midot. Listen to me very carefully, especially if you're a man. Ta'ava you can find anywhere. To fulfill your ta'ava, you can find that anywhere. But to fulfill the shoes of a wife, there's only one that can fulfill that. Don't allow yourself to get caught up with a 21st century Hollywood that build you an illusion of a marriage that doesn't really exist. It doesn't exist. This stuff that they show on the TV or on the internet, whatever it is nowadays, doesn't exist. Lo haya velo hiyeh. Doesn't exist. They build it. Why? Because they know that's what every man wants. And they do it because they know every woman wants it. So they build this whole fantasy. How is it a woman waking up in the morning in Hollywood and she already has makeup and her hair is done? And why am I telling you this? Because I had a guy one day that comes to, I want my wife, every morning she should look like this. Are you crazy? Where are you? And where's your yirat shamayim? Where's your seichel and where's your ta'ava? If you're not willing to diminish your ta'avot on your decisions, you're just going to end up like everybody else. Miserable in a marriage. And I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again. Marriage is the most beautiful thing on planet Earth. It's the most beautiful, it's the most enjoyable, it's the most fulfilling thing on the planet. But only if you do it with the right person. If you do it with the wrong person, it can be and it will be the most miserable, the most darkest place on planet Earth. And the only way you can make that happen, the beginning, is by knowing you're going to use your brain when you make your decision and not your heart. That is the maskana of today. And I know this really should have been last week and last week should be today, but I didn't want everyone to go crazy. And don't think there's a person that's 40 years old and there's a person that's 18 years old. Rabbi said you can be 100 years old and you can still have this issue. A psychological decision doesn't depend on age, depends on maturity. Why does a person get married when they're 18, the Pirkei Avot says? Why that age specifically? Because when you reach that age, you start to form a sense of gadlut. You start to form a sense of responsibility. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if that's the age you form responsibility, that's the age you're able to get a wife. Know that she's your responsibility. If you're not going into the relationship having in your mind that this person, you have to take care of her from the beginning until the end, for all of the needs that she has, both physical and emotional, then you're just wasting your time. Because you're going to get married and then you're going to have a miserable life. And that's the problem with most people. They're doing it to run away from something. They're doing it because their house is a destruction. They want to run away from the house. And that's bad. And I'll tell you how I know this is bad. And I'm not comparing every case to this. I know, not me. My wife was telling me. Unfortunately, we're already working trying to help this couple. Now again, I'm not saying this is norm in every single family that has this situation. I'm just saying what happened in this situation. There's a lady that's married for a couple years. Came out almost a decade, almost 10 years. She has 2 kids, and she said to my wife the other day, she wants to get a divorce. She's done. Whatever the reason is, it's irrelevant. And what was her taina? Listen, my parents got divorced, and they worked it out, so it's okay. I'll know how to work it out. Now, I don't know anyone's status, it's irrelevant. A person that goes through such a dramatic experience and he doesn't get the right help, he starts to think that that traumatic experience is a norm. The abused becomes the abuser. Statistically, people that abuse people, it's because they were once abused. When a person goes into any situation, he's not going with a clarity that certain things are fixed. The concept of certain things will never happen in my life. In my family, we don't say the D word.
What's that? Oh.
Very good. You clapped right away. We don't say that word. Why? Because it's not an option. That's not an option. You know what the option is? To get help. To get help, to get guidance. When a person gets married and he's just doing it, again, I'm repeating it, but it's so important. He's doing it because he's trying to block something. He's doing it because everyone else is getting married. I also have to get married. What is this? All my classmates are getting married. Everyone in college is talking about it. I feel like the only one. What is this? How long am I going to be like that? Wrong. You can't think like that. That's going to cause you to make the wrong decision, not the right decision. And people do it 24/7. And they end up getting married and then going to counseling for the rest of their life. And it's a repeat for their kids, and then for their kids, and then for their kids, until there's one smart child that says, enough, I'm breaking the line of this trauma that I grew up with. You be that child that says no. And everyone has something they need to clean before they get married. Everybody. Everyone has it. You just have to figure out what it is. What is that little thing that I don't want to take into my future family? How am I going to be the best person that I can be for that certain person, that whoever she's going to be? I'm going to finish with this. This is for married people. Someone asked me to give a class for married people. I said, no, not yet, maybe later one day. But let me tell you a klal. For the married couple that's here, it's very, very important. You should listen to this, and you should never forget. This should be your first rule and your last rule until the day you die. Saved my marriage, and it killed many other people's marriages that didn't do this. When you get married, whatever happens between you and your wife stays between you and your wife. Not the father, not the mother, not the grandfather, not the best friend, not the best friend, not the professor. No one gotta know what's going on in your house. Whatever happens in that house stays in that house. There is no reason whatsoever that someone else should know your business. The second someone finds out, that's the second shalom bayit problems happen. The second someone finds out, she told her mother, you told your father, that's it, done. Why? The sinah starts to come to the house. If you don't know how to build that mental circle around you together, whatever happens here stays here. That's it. This is the klal. I have a relative that got married. Hashem should help them. Whatever the case is, they're going crazy there. They came to my house. My mother was there. My mother goes to them and says, you know them too? She's talking about me and my wife. I never heard one complaint from them. And she said, I knew from far they had their own issues they had to worry about. But not one time did they come and tell me I have a problem with Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. Never. Why? It's none of her business. You have a problem, you have to fix it on your own with her. And if you need hadarcha, you go to your Rebbe. He will guide you and he will help you. But in no way does that circle of trust leave. Don't ever forget that. When you guys and girls one day will get married, I don't know if you will know me, you will invite me or not, but remember this klal. This is extremely important. And I told this to a couple that I was crying to them. I said, you are the cause of your own misery. You are the cause. By you not knowing how to communicate between each other, you are killing yourself. And this is one of the big problems with going out. Whatever happens stays to yourself. Mind your own business. Don't be nosy. If you have that friend that's nosy, I'm sorry. It's worth it to cut them out of your life. You don't need to say things to people. It's none of their business. When Esther Malka became the princess of of Persia, did anyone tell anyone tell Achashverosh she was a Jew? Did anyone even tell Haman she was Jewish? Nobody. No one. Did that question ever pop to your head? It always used to bother me. You live in a community full of Jews. Why no one told them? Everyone kept their mouth shut. Everyone minded their own business. Whatever happens in your life, in your personal house, is not anyone else's problem. And that's how the Shalom Bayit stays safe. It stays safe because they know how to, this is our communication. You walk out of that house, you're focusing, you walk out of that house, you just got into a fight. The second you walk out of that house, it's like you never had that fight. You want to continue being in a grudge only when you go back into that house. No one got to know anything. Nobody. You walk out of that house, you go to your father's house, you go to your mother's house. The best. I'm having the best time of my life. That's all they need to hear. Because if not, I don't need to go. All the davats that are going to come out. The Megillah, there's not enough ink and paper in the world to write what's going to come out of people's mouths. Do you understand?